Pre-algebra, Chapter 8, Section 2, solving two-step equations. So two-step equations just contain two operations. So for instance, you can have 2 times x plus a 3 is equal to 16. So we have multiplication and addition here. So doing our quick check here, we have 6/10 times y is equal to negative 12. It wants us to solve. What's the opposite? Or what are we trying to find? We're trying to find y. What's with the y at 6/10? What's the 6/10 doing for the y? It's multiplying. What's the opposite of multiplying? It's to divide. So I divide by 0.6. If I do it to one side, I do it to the other. So I get negative 12 divided by 0.6, and I get negative 20, and I can plug that back in. So 6/10 times negative 20 equals to negative 12. So 6/10 times negative 20, I get negative 12, and it checks out. What are we trying to get by itself in number 2? N. What's with the n? 3/4. What is it doing? Multiplying. So how do I get rid of a fraction that's multiplying times a variable? I multiply by the reciprocal. I multiply by 4/3. I do it to one side, I do it to the other. I can cross reduce here, and I get 8. I can plug it back in. 3/4 times 8 is equal to 6. I can cross reduce, and I get 6 equals 6. Number 3, what are we trying to get by itself? W. What's with the W? Negative 8.6. What's it doing? Multiplying. What's the opposite? It is to divide by that negative 8.6. So it's one side, do it to the other. So negative 365.5 divided by negative 8.6. I get 42.5. I can plug it back in. So negative 8.6 times 42.5 should equal negative 365.5 times that by 8.6 negative. So we get, yes, we get a negative 365.5. So number 4, 2.5x is equal to 22 1/2. What's with the x? It's 2.5. What are they doing? Multiplying. What's the opposite? It is to divide. So we're going to divide by 2 1/2. So that's 5, 6, 6/5. Oh, wait, hold on. I can make this into 6/5 x is equal to 45 halves. So now I can multiply by the reciprocal. Oh, that should be over 2. I don't know what I'm thinking. Over 2. 4, 5, 5 over 2. Goodness. 5 over 2. So I multiply by 2/5 on both sides. Now my 2's cross out. My 5 can cross reduce. And I get an x equal to 9. So we can plug that back in. So 2 1/2. So we said was 5 halves x is equal to 45 halves. That'll be 5 halves times 9 equal to 45 halves. 9 times 5 is 45. 2 times 1 is 2. So it checks out. For art class, each student is making 4/5 a pinata, or is making a pinata using 4/5 a pound of paste. The art teacher bought 20 pounds of paste. How many students can make a pinata? So 4/5 of is multiplication. Paste we're going to put in as x. The art teacher bought 20 pounds of paste. So we're going to take 4/5 times 20. 1 and 4. So that equals 16 students or A. So how are equations and inequalities used to describe and solve multi-step problems? Today, we will learn to solve two-step equations and real-world problems involving those two-step equations. So looking at one here, so we have a couple of different methods that we can go about it. So 3a plus 9 equals 33. So the first method, they say, well, what's on the left side of the equal sign of the a? There's a 3 and there's a 9. And we always want to get rid of the addition and subtraction first when we're solving. So we go reverse PEMDAS. So we start with addition and subtraction and we move up. So that's why they got rid of the subtract 9 here first. If you do it to one side, you do it to the other, and you're left with 3a equals 24. Now we need to get a by itself, so we divide by 3 on both sides. We get a is equal to 8. You can do it the horizontal method, which is the way that you see it most often in a book, and maybe that makes more sense to you. You can most certainly do it that way, but I do want to see either method 1 or method 2. And so method 2 just has your subtract 9 instead of having it under the 9, they put it right next to it. Let's see, and then checking your answer. So we take our answer of 8, and we plug it back into the original equation. 3 times 8 plus 9 equals 33. So then 3 times 8 is 24. 24 plus 9 is 33, so we know that we have the correct answer. So we here have a problem to try. 2m plus 8 equals 32. Remember, we do reverse PEMDAS, starting with addition and subtraction and go up. So what's with the m? We have a 2 and we have an 8. What is the 2 doing? It's multiplying. What is the 8 doing? It's adding. So that means I need to get rid of that plus 8 first. So the opposite of adding 8 to both sides would be to subtract 8 on both sides. What am I left with? I'm left with 2m equals 32 minus 8 gives me 24. Now I have a 2 times an m. The opposite of multiplying by 2, as we learned in the last section, is to divide by 2. And we get m equals 12. We'll go back and check it. So that's 2 times 12 plus 8 equals 32. 2 times 12 is 24. 24 plus 8 equals 32. 24 plus 8 is 32. So 32 equals 32. So another problem here, we have multiplying by a fraction. So 1/5 p minus 12 equals 20. So again, the first thing we want to get rid of is that addition and subtraction. So we're going to do the opposite of subtracting 12 and add 12 to both sides. That gives us 1/5 p is equal to 32. And now I want to, since I'm multiplying by a fraction, if I multiply by the reciprocal, I get the variable by itself. So I multiply by 5 over 1, which is just 5. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. So I end up with p is equal to 160. And then you can check the solution by putting 160 back in. So solve 1/4 x, 1/4 w plus 6 equals 9. Again, we do addition and subtraction first. What's with the w? We have 1/4, which is multiplying, and we have 6, which is adding, so I'm going to have to get rid of that 6 first. The opposite of a positive 6 is negative, so I subtract 6 from one side. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side of the equal sign. So I'm left with 1/4 w equals 3. Since I'm multiplying by 1/4, to get rid of that fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal, 4 over 1, which is just 4. If I do it to one side of the equal sign, I have to do it to the other. And I'm left with w equals 12. Going back and checking our answer, so I have 1/4 times 12 plus 6 equals 9. So I can cross reduce here. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 1. So 3 divided by 1 is just 3. So I have 3 plus 6 equals 9. I get 9 equals 9. So solving 9 minus t is equal to negative 34. First thing we're going to do here is add in that 1 so it stops being unseen and starts being seen. Once more, we always do addition and subtraction first. So that means the 9 is what we're going to get rid of here. The opposite of a positive 9 is a negative 9. That's how you get it to go away. So we have to subtract 9 from both sides. If we do it to one side, we're going to do it to the other side, the equal sign. That leaves us with negative 1t equals negative 43. The opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is to divide by that negative 1, and we end up with t is equal to 43. Trying one out here. The first thing I want to do is put in that 1, so it's seen. What's with the x? There's a 5, which is adding or subtracting, and then I have a negative 1, which is multiplying. So I get rid of the plus 5 first. The opposite of having a positive 5 is to have a negative 5, so we subtract 5 from the left, and if we do it to the left side of the equal sign, we do it to the right. I'm left with negative 1x equals 2. Now I have negative 1 times x. The opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is to divide by a negative 1 on both sides. So I get x equals -2. I can plug that back in. So I have 5 minus -2 equals 7. Two negatives make it positive. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So 7 is equal to 7. Solve 2x plus x minus 27 equals 3. So the first thing we have to do is get our like terms together. Like terms here are 2x and x. So 2x plus x is 3x. So I have 3x minus 27. And now I can ask those questions again. What do I want to get by itself? I want to get x by itself. What's with the x? There's a 3. There's a -27. So I want to get rid of that addition and subtraction first. So we add 27 to both sides. And then the opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3. So you get x is equal to 10. And then you can plug it back in. So trying one, the first thing again that we want to do is get our like terms together. So b minus 3b. So that's a -2b plus 8 equals 18. What's with the b? There's a -2 that's multiplying. There's an 8 that is adding. So I want to get rid of that 8 first. The opposite of adding 8 is to subtract 8 from both sides. I'm left with a -2b equals 10. The opposite of multiplying by -2 is to divide by -2. So you get b equals -5. Let me plug it back in. So you can even go back to the very original, -5. Oops, I don't need two negatives. I plug in the -5, I put parentheses around it, minus 3 times -5 plus 8 equals 18. So I have -5 plus 15 plus 8 equals 18. I get -5 plus 15 is 10 plus 8 equals 18. So I get 18 equals 18. And it works. So 2x plus x minus 27. Dion wants to go on a camping trip with his hiking club. The trip costs $185.75. That's our total. So that equals $185.75. He paid a deposit of $45.75. So deposit means a down payment, and you're only using it one time, so it doesn't be a variable. And we'll save an additional $17.50 per week to pay for the trip. Per week. It tells me that I am taking $17.50 and multiplying it times something to get my total. So we have our equation here. Find the number of weeks Dion will need to save money for the trip. We subtract our addition or subtraction. So what's with the W? 1750. It's multiplying. 4575. It's adding. So we get rid of the 4575 first by subtracting it from those sides. And then the opposite of multiplying by 1750 is to divide by 1750. So we know that we need to have saved up for 8 weeks. Marissa wants to go to summer camp. The camp costs $229. That's our total. She paid a deposit of $75. Again, that's a one-time payment. And she will need to save $14 per week. So the per week tells us that that's something that we are doing often. And that's the total. So solve 75 plus 14W is equal to 229 to find how many weeks Marissa will need to save. So what are we trying to find? W. What's with the W? It's a 14, which is multiplying, and the 75, which is adding. So we get rid of the 75 first by subtracting 75 on both sides. So we get 14W is equal to 154. The opposite of multiplying by 14 is to divide by 14. If I do it to one side of the equal sign, I do it to the other side. So I get W equals 11 what? 11 weeks. Needs to save for 11 weeks. So what new term did we have? Do we have two-step equation? And coming down here, how are equations and inequalities used to describe and solve multi-step problems? So we can see sometimes we know what our deposit is, and we're trying to figure out how many weeks we actually need to start saving for. And so that's a two-step problem that we can figure out here. So write each step used to solve the equation. Write the name of the property that is shown next to each step. So the first thing you're going to do is add 3 to both sides. So that's the addition property. And then of equality, addition property of equality, and then you divide by -4 on both sides, and that is the multiplication or division property of equalities.